that want to be teachers anymore, given the last couple of years that happened with COVID. And we have to recognize, we have to recognize our teachers at all levels as they intersect with our kids and appreciate them and pay them more. And I want to move to you, Seppo. We're talking about engaging all stakeholders. What ideas might you have on how business and industry can partner to engage all stakeholders toward innovation in EdTech?
Thank you so much. I think my response to that, I don't want to sort of oversimplify, because I think it's quite complicated and quite complex to work with sort of different stakeholders in education to try move the needle in terms of improving educational outcomes and creating equal access to quality education for everyone. I think particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, there are so many sort of challenges that are interconnected and that are very sort of layered. For instance, sort of in some parts of sub-Saharan Africa, you could consider sort of ICT readiness as one of the core challenges for implementation of EdTech, but also some of the core challenges that are standing in the way of scaling EdTech solutions and making sure that it's accessed by as many people as possible, especially those underserved. And I think one of the key things of accelerating uptake and growth of EdTech within sub-Saharan Africa, particularly, would be sort of having that sort of multi-stakeholder engagement and collaboration. And I think that's coming together with a core purpose and core mission, and having alignment in what that core purpose and core mission is. So for us at Ingenie, what we want to do is we want to work with various stakeholders across the education ecosystem in sub-Saharan Africa. So from educators to EdTech innovators to government institutions. And what we want to do is move the needle in terms of improving access and quality of education across sub-Saharan Africa. So everyone that we're engaging with and that we're working with, we want to ensure that they are aligned to that mission and that they are aligned to that purpose, and that everyone is clear on how we go about doing that. And that is leaning on the different strengths and the sort of different strengths and weaknesses that everyone within that ecosystem has, and making sure that the effort is collaborative and that everyone is equally taking ownership of each element of progress within education, so that it's not particularly dependent on one individual or one institution, but rather the entire ecosystem, that everyone is sort of equally responsible and equally mandated in making sure that we're moving the needle in education and improving educational outcomes. And I guess a good example of sort of how practically this works and how it happens, one of our initiatives within our ecosystem development initiatives within Ingenie is we've got the think tank who are developing market-based research that is designed to help founders practically apply their knowledge about specific markets within Africa on how to implement and scale the solution. And what we also do there is identify organization and partners within those markets that startups can collaborate and work with. And we facilitate those conversations, those introductions, to making sure that the founders have friends on the ground, whether it's teachers or SDGs, so members of the school governing bodies or members of sort of governments and members of the community, making sure that those people have relationships and building relationships and ensuring the implementation of EdTech within those regions. I'll stop there.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move to you, Dr. Liu. When we talk about the role of augmented reality, virtual reality, in creating multi-level educational ecosystems, what is the role of AR and VR? And are institutions ready for the technology, or are they not ready for it? Dr. Liu? You might be on mute, sir. I think we're having technical difficulties there with Lou. I'm going to move on to Robert as we figure that out. Robert, I'm going to come over to you and ask you what the future of online learning looks like for educational institutions across the world. Easy question.
Yeah, that's a big one. So thanks. So at the World Bank, as a result of COVID, there has been a huge influx of demand for online learning, both to address the emergency phase of COVID, just providing education services. Now, as schools begin to reopen, to kind of look at recovery, and more countries are looking at these investments with regard to resilience. We've put together an education strategy that outlines 5 principles that help kind of guide these investments. The first one is ask why. Make sure that kind of the education outcomes and changes you want to see in the classroom lead the investment, lead the technology, and not the other way around. You focus it for all at scale, so that when you focus on the most vulnerable, it's most easy to scale when you're able to figure out those solutions. So yeah, I think the future will be kind of being able to